Let's talk now with Esther Wickham, the Center Square education reporter, about her story. U.S. colleges report $5.2 billion in foreign funds just for 2025. Esther, always good to see you. That's a pretty big number for just 1 year.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. This is definitely an ongoing concern for the Trump administration. Since the 80s, the U.S. Department of Education has been requiring colleges and universities across the country under Section 117, requiring these students to, these administrations to disclose how much foreign funding they are receiving, whether they're gifts or contracts. And if they exceed $250,000, they must disclose it. And right now, the 555 institutions across the country that are currently receiving foreign aid are, reaching almost $68 billion. So right now we're at $67.6 billion since 1986 of, foreign aid, foreign funding that is going towards, medical research, scientific research at a lot of these Ivy League and top universities. And, in the past couple of years, there's been some, worry or concern about whether these universities are actually disclosing the exact amount. And so that's where this data, this report comes from the Trump administration, looking at how much, foreign aid are these top universities and Ivy Leagues receiving.
Of $1 million is a lot of money. And that being the threshold that triggers them having to report that, kind of fascinating. And if people want to delve into this themselves, they can find the link to foreignfundinghighered.gov in Esther's story. And as you said, nearly $68 billion over the past few decades. But just drilling down on 2025, the U.S. Department of Education showing $5.2 billion. Walk us through some of those numbers.
Yeah, so the transactions that the US Department saw within their data in specifically the year of 2025 was over 8,000 transactions. And we're looking at, the top universities, Harvard, MIT, Carnegie Mellon University, Stanford, NYU, UPenn, to just name a few. And as I said before, under Section 117 of the Higher Education Act, these colleges are required to disclose these foreign gifts and contracts that they are receiving. And, Republicans time and time again have, showed concern or argued that these institutions are not reporting this funding, and they are requiring the administration to, have stricter oversight. And so when we look at the specific countries that these universities are receiving funding, the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, have highlighted as she says, countries of concern that these universities are, receiving funding. So just to name a few, Qatar is the largest source of foreign funding in 2025, accounting for over $1 billion. The UK, China, Switzerland, and Japan are also big contributors. But the main countries of concern that McMahon highlights is China, Russia, Iran, and Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, and MIT receive the most foreign aid from those countries. And so between 1986 and 2025, specifically the University of Harvard received more than any of these 555 institutions received from these foreign countries, totaling over $600 million. So these top universities are receiving this foreign funding that's going towards medical research, scientific research within the institution, and the Trump administration definitely raises concern around this.
Yeah, again, in 2025 alone, 8,300 transactions, $5.2 billion in total. And as you mentioned, Qatar was the largest source, $1.1 billion. But other countries also up there, United Kingdom, China, Switzerland, Japan. It's a lot of money coming through. And it's interesting Harvard pops up in this because we've talked with you in the past about the ongoing conflicts between the Trump administration and Harvard. Any updates on that front, especially considering the latest you've got here about foreign funding going to universities like Harvard?
Yeah, there is still ongoing debacle between the university and the Trump administration. It doesn't seem like they necessarily want to budge when giving up that funding because, as I said before, the Trump administration has been cracking down in the attempt of kind of reshaping what higher education looks like. There has been an increase in scrutiny when it comes to foreign influence on college campuses, let alone Title IX concerns with transgender athletes in female sports, as well as DEI mandates when it comes to Jewish students feeling hostilely attacked or aggressive students on campus. So there's definitely a lot of heat rising around higher education and Ivy League institutions. But I think the biggest thing in regards to this issue is, back in April when Trump was kind of starting his second term, he wanted to kind of crack down on that foreign influence that universities are seeing, and signed an executive order, the transparency regarding foreign influence at American universities. And so I think this is one step in that direction, and something that the Department of Education highlights is that they launched on January 2nd of this year a portal for universities to kind of relay in more transparent fashion ways to disclose, foreign funding, so that the federal government doesn't really have to do their job for them and, disclose how much funding they actually are receiving from these countries of concern, as McManus said, as well as other foreign nations.
And again, those countries of concern: China, Russia, Iran. And you've got to think about the ongoing international conflicts that Russia's involved in, the brewing conflicts with Iran, and what is really the purpose of them pouring these amount of dollars into American universities. And a lot of these American universities, as we've talked with you about, are getting U.S. tax dollars as well. And obviously, in an academic space, you do, just want, legitimate information, but does that come with bias, especially if those dollars are tied to China or Russia or Iran? Definitely some interesting questions that the Department of Education's raising here with this type of report. Do you think that this is going to rise to the level of more oversight from members of Congress?
Yeah, I definitely think there will be, since a lot of universities have kind of popped up here and there. For one example, in Stanford University, right? Silicon Valley, San Jose, Northern California, very prominent institution. The Stanford Review, which is a student journalist news publication, did an investigation into, not only the foreign funding that this university was receiving, but also the growing influence that the Chinese Communist Party has had on that campus. Alleging that students were being, sent out to attend Stanford University. And something that the article highlights is that the Chinese Communist Party is kind of orchestrating this intelligence gathering campaign at Stanford. And he, highlights that it's kind of like Chinese spies at Stanford. And so if this is one concern at a very prominent, university in California, there's definitely bound to be more around the country, Greg. And I think that, if this becomes a huge national security risk or a concern, which, this one example shows, and the administration has shown concern for that as well, this will definitely be an issue for a lot of lawmakers to kind of keep their eyes on what's happening within their own states. Not only the effect on taxpayers that are going towards, higher education and funding the future of America with these students that are going to, get jobs and enter our career force, but, what exactly are we receiving when it comes to foreign aid, and how is that exactly being utilized?
Esther Wickham, education reporter for the Center Square. Greatly appreciate your story and your time, and we'll be checking back in on this one for sure.